Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Hello and welcome, or maybe even welcome back if you're with us for the Formula Ford day, everyone. Now it's the time of the SRFs, the Ford Spec Racers, here on Apex Racing TV as part of Super Sunday, the two-part doubleheader for Weekend Warriors, presented by Race Voice. Welcome along. I am Tim Cox. We've got Lewis and Ryan, the virtual production trailer. Tom Dillon joins me as always tonight. It's the Charlotte Roval, Tom.
Yes, not quite the Roval as you may know it if you've been around NASCAR for the last couple of years. That layout was 2019 onwards. This layout is 2018, but it still is roughly the same. We've got 17 turns actually here as you look at the back straight. But well, it's a fascinating racetrack. It's not one of my favourites, I have to say. I usually am here gloating about the racetrack, so I'm not a huge fan of this track, to be honest with you. But it does usually provide some racing, mostly sort of out of turn 12, maybe out of turn 17, when you go on that run down into the NASCAR turns. I think this should be good for the Spec Racer Fords because they love a little bit of draft.
That they do indeed, and well, before we get fully engrossed and immerse ourselves into the action of today, you see qualifying just ongoing in the background right now. Let's take a look at the championship standings. Well, Spec 1, what can you say? Marco Panera, he has been so dominant, and that continues on here tonight, I'm sure. He leads the championship by, well, a country mile, over 120 points over Jason Green, who's second, who's got a considerable margin over, well, just shy of 100 points, 99 to be precise, ahead of Megan Overstreet in second. But she is only 1 point ahead of Kane Lasky. Interestingly enough, Bradford Gould still within the shout, but not most spectacular seasons for him, but so consistent, and that's why he's vying for that third position. Vander Dantas, he's only 1 point behind Gould and still in with a shot at that third place. Then we've got Andalo Wood, Rodriguez and Vice Luzol to round out your top 10. Across into Spec 2 now, and well, it's Alan McCain who leads the way. He's had some astounding results this season, including getting on the podium overall at Fuji a couple of rounds ago. Phil Berry, he's in second, and amazing, he's still in with a shout of that lead. So is Ken Batley. He's only some 5 points behind Phil Berry. Justice, he's still not far off it, but starting to get cut adrift now in fourth. Jeff Wubka just closing in on Justice. Gibson sixth, Vaglini, Jackson, Vogel, and Pocock round out your top 10 there. Cross into Masters, well, this has been so topsy-turvy, and realistically, anyone could win it on their day with some big names well down the order. It's Tom Gradwell, though, who leads the way. He's 42 points ahead of Stephen Mitchell, another driver who's been ever so consistent this season. Brett Cathcart lies in third, only, 5 points behind Stephen Mitchell. Jim Brewster, another driver within shout of being on the podium in the championship, he lies in fourth. Then it's Kurt Nunes, Antonio Race down in sixth. That's largely to only taking part in 5 races so far this season. Gianni Longin, 7th. Jorg Marni, you expect to see him right at the top, but he's all the way down in 8th, and that's largely due to just being involved in incidents, getting caught up, being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Murakami, sadly, we've only had him for 4 rounds so far this season, hence why he's down in 9th. Bob Kern rounds out your top 10 there. Across into qualifying now. Well, we had it last week in qualifying, didn't we, Tom? The Brazilians dominating the top 5, and it's happening here again. It's only with Marco Pinheiro, who's not Brazilian, in that top 5.
And yeah, I suppose not particularly surprising that we saw the Brazilians being so prolific last week, given the fact that they were on a Brazilian track. Is a feature that I haven't seen a lot. You know, I don't recall ever going to Brands Hatch and seeing the British drivers up in the top. So I think it shows how proud they are of their racing heritage down there and their national racing tracks. They've got a fantastic scene down there in Brazil. I don't know if anyone follows it or knows too much about it, but they've got their own endurance scene and everything. So real fantastic racing culture. I think that went to show a little bit in our league last week. But this is Dudo Castro. He's on his out lap at the moment, and he's 0.05 of a second after his first lap off of the lead of the race, which is occupied off of the lead of the qualifying session, I should say, which is occupied at the moment by Marco Pinheiro. This is Evandro Dantas, another one of our Brazilian drivers, 0.3 of a second behind our qualifying session leader at the moment. Provisional pole position is a 128.443. A couple of spots to look out for here throughout Sector 1, particularly on the racetrack. That is the fact that there are a lot of barriers here on the outside line, particularly out of turn 1. You've got that massive timing tower that has now been pushed back to avoid the drivers going smack into it, but you need to be careful for that. When we did the Israel League here a couple of weeks ago, that is one thing that we spotted in the first few laps of the race, people going off there, also ruining their laps at that corner as well. But it looks like as Alice Blaver jumps up into 13th position, Antonio Rice is on an outlap, holds the Masters lead for the time being. It looks like we're going to get a very close finish in this qualifying session.
Definitely is. Alan McCain top of the Spec 2 qualifiers right now, and Josh Soto not too far behind too. Had a good running earlier on in the Formula Fords. To carry that on here right now, and in fact it's qualified in the top 6 there. Astounding result, and having put it on the front, well, on pole the week prior. Not quite worked out in the Ford Spec races in comparison, but it's much stronger strength of field. You can tell we're getting into the closing stage of qualifying because so many drivers have come in, taken off some fresh tyres, topped up the fuel tanks, and are on their out laps. Our top 6 all being that case: Gardini and Scarley, Claver, Jackson. Oh, there's so many of them. It's littered with drivers who are giving it one last shot. It says drivers a little bit out of position. Well, Jesus Rodriguez well down through the order, all the way down in 40th is a Spaniard. Don't tend to see him that far down, so you watch for him jumping up through the standings in the latter stages here. And also Overstreet maybe outside the top 10, she's in 15th. Of course, finished second earlier on in the Formula Fords. There she is. And in fact, it was João Trevino was the one to watch as well. We were at Summit Point earlier on, Tom, and he crossed the line 4.5 seconds in the lead, but he did spend most of the last lap just cruising it and having a bit of a celebratory weave. Oh dear, that's your last lap gone, isn't it, Overstreet? And around she goes. Wow, bit of contact there. So right, so she will finish no higher than 15th place. Antonio Rice, he's done and dusted. So's Bobby West. The driver's in that sort of top half of the table. Ooh, it's going to be, I think, could be quite tight, but I can't see anyone improving too much right now, Tom.
No, not particularly, and they've got to get across the line very quickly if they are going to try and have one more stab at it. And Darlow, he's coming to the pits. That is his qualifying session over, as has Rice. So Rice thinks that it's enough for him to set that Masters pole position lap time and, of course, 7th position overall. Tom Gradwell has done quite well in that championship so far this season. He's on one final lap, you would think, with 40 seconds to go in this session. He might squeeze one more out of it. This final chicane is well, going to be an interesting one if he can get through there and navigate okay. Car comes off in front of him. Tom Gradwell won't mind too much, goes across the line, doesn't improve by a great deal. Checker flag hasn't flown just yet to Leandro Pinheiro. He is making his way up through turn 12 and turn 11 and 12, I should say, and seeing what he can do here in the slipstream of the cars behind. Pinheiro's into the pits. I don't know if I mentioned that. So his lap time of 1:28.4 is now the one to beat. I don't think, though, that Dudo Castro in second position is on a lap, or at least on a fast lap.
No, it doesn't look like he's improving.
Oh, no, definitely not.
No, that's that lap abandoned with. That is for certain.
That's not the racing line, Tim.
No, that's one thing I can definitely vouch for. You're not going to find any improvements on time there whatsoever. It's just in the closing stage now. A few drivers trying to finish off their laps. Gatabino being one of them, and Darlo Green still to complete. So is Paolo Gori and Fabio Scarli. As well, there goes Bradford Gould. He's fully done and dusted. The good old trip. Finding even some bushes there. On the inside of what's that, about turn 7 or 8. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. Cuff cut across the line, and Jesus Rodriguez going to start well down. 40th, really out of position he is.
Jesus Rodriguez, not the greatest qualifying session from him, struggling with the track here or something, and struggling there on the driver's left. Is that Magno Street in the top of your picture, going a cropper at the end of this session? Checker flag has been out for a bit now, so I don't think Ken Bately's current lap is going to stand. There's no way he's crossed the line a minute and a half ago and is only down at turn 3. So I would suspect he's just waiting for them to pull him out of the session. This might be one more chance for Megan Ocean. It won't be. She's on an outlap and she's just spun. So, oh, and again, almost, almost totally totaling the car. Looks like then, unless Tabino can do anything about it, it's going to be Marco Pinheiro on pole position. I believe we can get to your results in a moment's time, because I think the drivers have just popped into the race session, perhaps.
Nearly, Tom. 10 seconds left to go before that fully transfers over, but so we're near as damn it there. And just in this little pause, useless fact: this screen on the back straightaway, largest high definition screen in the world. There you go, useless fact for you. And as it transitions across to the race session, we can take you through your grid. Marco Pinheiro starts on pole with Dudu Castro on the front row. That's the all-Brazilian row of Yao Tabino winning the Formula Fords early on. Lines up alongside Fabio and Darlo. Evando Janchas has Jason Green for company. Antonio Race, your hot qualifier in Masters, as Paolo Gori for company. Then it's Yogmani and Leandro Pinheiro to round out your top 10, Tom.
We're jumping the gun slightly, but I can tell you that it's Claudio Gardini and Fabio Scarli on row 6. And now, jumping into our next page of results. Libby is searching for the button, but apparently we have a slight problem with iRacing. So we're going to take a pause from that for a moment and, have a bit of a relax, Tim. Won't get you too good. In fact, what am I doing? I should keep my professionalism here and just read it off my screen. That would be another good idea. So it's Bobby West and Alice Plaver on row 7, Alan McCain and Megan Overstreet behind them. 17th and 18th is Andrea Favini and Joshua Suto, Phil Berry and Kurt Nunes just behind them. So round out the top 20.
Row 11 is Luca Leone and Jeff Fritsch. Row 12, Dan Wood and Trenton Kramer. He had a great result earlier on the Formula Fords, climbed 13 places. Can he do it again this evening? Chris Montgomery and Alan Bradshaw have each other company on row 13. Row 14 sees Charlie Ficar and Jim Brewster lining up alongside them with Aaron Vogele. And leader in the Masters Championship, Tom Gradwell, round out your top 30 and row 15.
Then behind them is going to be Joshua Justice and Ian Gibson with Ken Bately and Jeff Jacobson. Behind them, row 18 is oh dear, it's just totally changing my screen. Jeff Jacobson and Martin van der Berg are 33rd and 34th with Brad Cathcart and Jesus A. Rodriguez behind them. There's Jeff Rubka, Michelle Vaglini, Gianni Longin, Paul Jackson up to 41st, Stephen Mitchell, Bradford Gould, Tom Gradwell and Kerry Edwards rounding out the grid. Not sure totally how correct all of that is, but we have got cars out onto the circuit. I believe myself and Tim are going to have to take you through this radio for a little bit. So Radio Le Mans style. Tim, I have got pictures on my screen. I can see what's going on. So we'll take that for what it is, and hopefully Louis can get his games fixed in a few moments.
Yes, creaking under the anticipation and the excitement, his internet's decided to throw a little bit of a wobbly, and the dreaded packet loss upload kicking in there. Now, let's have a bit of a mention while we're on this out lap and formation lap to our sponsors. And of course, we've got, first off, a Race Voice. You quite often see their logo up in the top right-hand corner, long supporter of this series. Now, if you're looking for a simple way to transform complicated performance data into easy-to-understand voice notifications alerts, then make sure you check them out. They have over 16 different notifications, including up and down shift, over rev alert, corner entry, turn in, and exit speed, and it provides immediate feedback on driver and vehicle performance. Find out more about them by heading across to racevoice.com. And then secondly, we've got Apex Racing Academy. They have 29 data packs, including setups, track guides. They also have integration with Virtual Racing School, or VRS. That's what we will commonly know them by. They also provide weekly group coaching sessions and also one-on-one coaching sessions with some of the top sim racers in the world. So make sure you check them out if you want to go faster out on track. And Tom, they're just coming down the back straight away up to that aforementioned largest HD screen in the world I alluded to earlier. In fact, it got itself into the Guinness Book of Records when it was built because of that stature it holds. I'm full of useless facts.
You're fascinated, aren't you? You're fascinated by that.
It is my one truly unique fact about HD screens at racetracks.
Well, at least, at least the virtual fans in the virtual racetrack can see our broadcast in very high definition. If indeed the viewers on YouTube can't quite at the moment. You're still with us though on YouTube. We apologise for the outages in your pictures. Making their way round what would be NASCAR Turn 4 just now. They'll then go through that chicane and out to start this race. Tim, here we go.
Let's get ready to go racing, folks. Porsche 911 safety car is in. Panero leads the way as they come out of the chicane. He absolutely goes for it. We are green. We are racing, but in the midfield, they're looking 2 and 3 wide. It's a little bit calm at the moment, though, as we round turn 1. Panero still leads from Castro. Tabino still up there. Dantas has got ahead of Vandalo for that top 5. And everyone just making their way around. No major gainers, although saying that Brewster and Tom Gradwell, 2 Masters drivers, they're at 4 places. A good start for them, but it looks like everyone's got away cleanly, Tom. So we just head across one of the many straights and just start to come towards coming out on the oval.
Yes, and Alex Plaver is looking up to make his position, makes a little bit of contact. Oh dear, and it ends in a little bit of disaster between Alex Plaver and, by the looks of things, Fabio Scarli. I saw Plaver pull alongside, make a little bit of contact, maybe a little bit of a late move of some description. We'll wait to see the replay in a moment. This is Jeff Jacobson and Stephen Mitchell all having a little bit of a battle. It's a 3-4 car train. Mitchell's on the inside line of the 76, loses out to a spot. The 917 now goes to the outside line of the 24, trying to get himself up a spot, but there's not a great deal of slipstream or help on that outside line. Puff of smoke at the top of your screen, because I think we've had a minor incident down into the final chicane. Everyone seems to have crawled through okay, but a couple of incidents on this, well, and skirmishes on this lap 1.
The it might have just been a bit of a lock-up time. I was scouring down through the list to try and work out if anyone gained or lost in any dramatic amount of places. None of that's happened. But they're still going at it here. As Caleb Pocock just trying to squeeze his way through what was the inside, then the outside. Has to still tuck in behind Josh Justice here as we go to go 3 wide down into turn 1. Hold tight, can they make it through? But around the outside comes Caleb Pocock. It's spectacular, Sal. That's 29 for him. But Justice has eked out a gap of about a second because of that 3 wide into turn 1.
And just hearing as we see a car onto the grass on the outside line on driver's left. We have got a replay of what happens at Alice Plaver. And will be interesting here. I think there's a car just behind him. Oh, he does go for a late dive. And, well, there's only one person I can pin the blame on for that, I'm afraid to say. And for me, it's Alice Plaver. That move was just never on. It almost feels like maybe the car ahead was slightly late on the brakes. And it just unsighted Plaver. But either way, you can only put the blame on one person, unfortunately, for that one.
It's a shame because it's Fabio Scarli who was the driver who Plaver made contact with, and he's fallen all the way back to 35th, down 23 spots, Tom. That's really hurt him after a great qualifying from him. Jesus Rodriguez, as he's getting. Oh, we're seeing a replay right now of Marco Pinero. So let's take a little look at what's happening. I think he's made it through okay. Still in the race lead, so it can't be anything too major. Maybe a bit of an off track. Just like those curbs coming through that chicane. It's so tricky because you need to take a lot of them, don't you, Tom, to really open up the corner and carry so much speed from them. But get it slightly wrong and touch those softest curb. You get the inside wheels. Oh wow, that was well saved there. But I think it was Evandro Dantas. Yes, it was, getting loose and Larry there on the exit out of 3. Saved it, but it's backed up everyone behind him, and Darlow races there. Jason Green, well, in fact, absolutely everyone, Gory and Marnie involved too, to head out onto the oval. Still side by side, looking for the slipstream. Gory dips down low there. Antonio Race getting, well, no, sorry, Jason Green getting a really slow exit. But he's going to have to tuck back in. Can't get down to the low side because there comes York Marnie, who just lifts out, lets Green back into the traffic. But they're still all in touch with one another. So we're right on board with York Marnie, monstering the curves through here, trying to carry all that speed, wind the car up. Such the key with these cars. It's all about the momentum. You think about good starts. I tell you what, mentioned Jim Brewster and Tom Bradwell earlier on. They're both up 7 as, wow, that's a bit of a poor exit. I can't work it. Was Claudio Gardini there. And he's lost, I think, about 4 or 5 spots because of it. Because look, everyone's all scattered across the track. In fact, I'm sure I can feel 3 wide ahead of them. No, it's just a 2 wide.
Alan McCain is on a fine run of form, isn't he? And he's in the Spec 2 lead once again. I would now refer to my little events list that we have on our SDK live timing software, which you can find in the description of this stream. There's a car off. That's Jeff Jacobson. Yep. He's out of the race. And, well, that's rather abrupt. And on the notes of my little event screen, it is absolutely loving to tell me that Jeff Jacobson has fallen all the way down the order. It was a huge flash there, but I wonder what happened to Jeff Jacobson as we see now Jason Green trying to make up a spot. This is a battle for 7th position. It is Gory just ahead of him. And Green has got a nice little run here as they go up into that chicane of turn 16 and turn 15, 16 and 17. Technically 3 corners. There's Flavio Andalo all the way off of the racetrack. I would wager gets a call of incident points for that one. On the outside line, he's going to lose out some spots as well. Race goes through. We've got 2 wide pack racing here, really almost like a NASCAR race around this racetrack. Gory, Rice, I apologise, going to find himself under pressure from Gory, who goes to the outside line. The number 80 is looking to get through, does exactly that. That's into the 16-17 chicane. And that is him through Evandro Dantas. Well, he's watching all of this unfold as back up the inside goes Rice and through back into that spot. Gory is losing out a spot to Green. Green is going to get followed through by Jorg Marnie. And Jorg Marnie gets himself back up into 6th position. So all very interesting.
Meanwhile, out in front, the top three have really opened up a sizable lead here. Panero, Castro, and Sabino. As Dantas and Dalo have fallen down through the order, having started well up there. While that gaggle of Brazilians we had inside the top 5. Atelier Race leading the charge, trying to catch up with them. Work it out though, 4.3 seconds, bit of understeer, squeezing out wide. But that's the trick, you need to get as close to the outside wall as physically possible without hitting it. Jason Green has progressed, he's right behind us. Bit of a move in the background there, York Money is on the inside. I think that must be Paolo Gori right next to him, looking to get a move onto the brakes. Into the chicane we come. Green takes a lot more curbing compared to Race, who has to ferrule the throttle. He's going to be vulnerable on exit here. As here comes Green round the outside. He's going to carry momentum. He's going to carry the speed, but he's going to travel further in doing so. But it's going to give him the inside into the final turns of 15, 16, and 17. When he doesn't need it, he's already ahead. And Race down into 5th, but still leading Masters. But look who's right behind him. It's Yogmani, 2nd in class.
And a return for Yogmani after a disappointing couple of rounds. Should be in contention for this championship, but his luck has just not gone that way so far this season. Got taken out in the previous race. I think got taken out in the race before as well. Suffice to say, he's had a difficult run of things, but now is looking to avenge himself. Oh my word, it almost happened in front of our eyes, but I'll lose a spot here. Won't actually be gunning for the lead of the race just yet, as he loses a spot this time to Gori. Well, Paolo Gori will go on through up into 6th position. I think Dantas is going to try and invite himself alongside Yogmani, but York holds on to the spots for the time being. We're approaching quarter distance in this race, and I think Mani always, he's all over him, is Dantas. Dantas really getting a good run out of that final corner before the oval section of this racetrack. What can Dantas do along the outside line then? He's going to get marginally ahead with that help of that slipstream. Now around the outside into the turn 11 and 12 chicane. Marnie holds it, holds that inside line, and I think Marnie holds the position as well, but he's got one more attack to deal with this time by, as they're losing track of the cars ahead as well. So this is going to be an interesting one. Will he lose this spot into 15 and 17? They're late onto the brakes, and Marnie is late enough onto the brakes to stave off that attack.
A little bit puzzled, so for me anyway, Tom. So you can just see that front right corner, a little bit of superficial damage to Dantas. Will affect the limited available. Oh, wow, almost clipping the inside wall there. Had to take effective action, did Dantas. It's going to back him right up into Andalo, who's right behind him. But yeah, a little bit surprised that, seeing how close they were, could have even mounted an attack if Dantas had have pushed Marnie NASCAR style. You could do it in these cars very safely, very easily, and it would have pushed them right up into the back. Instead, they elected to go too wide through the bus stop, and it hurt them dearly. So, oh, Tavino's lost a whole heap of time, hasn't he? Look at that. He's dropped right off the bat. I mean, he was skirting on the edge of the slipstream. He's about 7/10 behind Panero and Castro. Now finds himself 2.1 seconds behind them, and it's all happened on this lap. Because last time around, he was only a tenth slower than our top 2. So he's falling by the wayside a little bit, but at a relatively small trackside compared to some of the places we've visited so far this season. It's what, some 2.2 miles here. They're going to encroach onto some back markers. Of course, 45 car grid here today. To come down on the brakes in towards 15. And also, you've got the risk of, when we start pushing later in the race, will anyone smack that wall on the outside there?
Very, very real concern of that happening, particularly with the fact that these guys have got to conserve some kind of fuel at this stage, and then as you get into that sort of 30-minute mark, everyone just starts to take the gloves off and really pushes. Well, at the stage of the race where their tyres are the most worn. That is a very battered 929 of Adam Bradshaw getting through and past Pocock. That's a fine move for him around the outside line. I don't particularly think that Spec Racer Ford is going to be too speedy at the moment, or maybe not speedy is the right word, but too friendly to handle at this stage of the race, looking like that. But it is looking reasonably fast, as now he looks to attack another car. This time it's Ken Bately that he's trying to put a move on. And he will go to that inside line and try and get late on the brakes for a dive. And it's a dive that works out perfectly for him. Ken Bately under pressure and being victim to a very fine move from Bradshaw.
Bradshaw really throwing some shapes and throwing caution to the wind right now. What, 2 places in as many complexes of corners he's made up there to come out onto the oval through what would be NASCAR turn 2 there. I mean, could get into the argument there's only technically only 2 turns, but that's by the by. You see Jim Brewster right now currently flying 4th in class. Lucky Leone and Phil Berry tucks up behind him. They've dropped off the back of Vini, who's in 14th ahead of them. Brewster absolutely flying 13 places, only eclipsed by Jeff Wubka, who's currently 27th at 14 spots. There's a fair few drivers taken to the pits early on. Fabio Scarli just heading in now, but Dan Wood's been in. Overstreet, I spotted earlier on, she had damage to the front end of her car. McCain's come in very early on as well. Josh Justice has been in too. So is Cathcart. And well, that's the last of your runners. So Simon so far, Gory on lap 7, currently on lap 8. Lap 6 for Charlie Vaccaro, Leandro Pinheiro, lap 4, Jeff Shakeson, lap 3, and Kerry Edwards did not make the start as Dan Wood in again. I think that could be race ending.
Possibly so. There's Flavio Andalo having to take to the outside line in pursuit of the number 32 of Evandro Dantas. Jorg Marni is running in 2nd in class at the moment and just ahead of these guys. That being said, Dantas definitely looks at the inside of Jorg Marni for a moment. So I think he realised there's a clonk of the wall on driver's left. I think he realised very quickly that he wasn't in position. That clonk of the wall, I'm going to guess, was from Evandro Dantas' number 32 car, because he's very slow out of that chicane and into turn 16 and 17 they go. Andalo not able to draw alongside, just braking a little bit early as he gets the run out of the corner. And again, Dantas is hitting the wall, as is Marni. I think both of them hit the wall there, but Flavio Andalo, well, he's very visibly so, not wanting to batter with these guys.
Treacherous part of the circuit, that, isn't it? And not a run to the line here. It's now on board with Marni. Well, looking back from Marni. And it can really, really hurt your car. Just keep smacking the wall there. Going to cause damage to that front left. Sorry, front right even. And, well, it's going to really hurt you later in the race. Of course, the drivers do have one available fast repair to their name. So you can imagine that these guys will be utilising that. Come their pit stop. Not quite into true pit window territory yet. Currently 14 minutes complete out of the 40 here from Charlotte, the standard 40-minute race, but Marni just moving up high there, allowing Dantas through, really yielding to him there, as Dantas clearly, well, certainly Marni, I think, feeling Dantas maybe a bit quicker. Definitely these two scarred by they went side by side through the bus stop where they are now early on, which has caused them to drop right off the back of Antonio Race. He's extended that gap to 5 seconds in front of them. They really have fallen by the wayside. On board with Marni again. Lifting and coasting. Feather of the throttle there, Tom. I think maybe that was a little bit of right. Go on, you go ahead, Vandro. You go ahead. I'm going to sit behind you and do some fuel saving in the wall again. And there comes Andalo. He's straight through. He says, thank you very much. If you're going to smack the wall, I'm going to sneak through. Oh, Dantas really wide there. It looks like he's outbraked himself, Tom. And now Marni, all of a sudden, after losing one place, could reclaim it, but it's due to the expense of Dantas, who defends the inside staunchly there. But look who's right behind him now. Drivers coming along for the fight for the ride. Josh Soto and Bobby West now brought into this action. As in fact, that's Soto. He's going to squeeze past Marni.
Well, Marni is losing out quite a lot. Not on Masters positions, but losing out regardless on a few overall positions. Bobby West now is trying to attack him. Marni getting slightly better drive as they head on to the NASCAR section of the racetrack. I say the NASCAR section of the racetrack, the oval section of the racetrack to use the proper terminology. But Bobby West is perhaps with a bit of a better straight line as top end as down into the chicane they go. Bobby West again backing out of it, using his chance to fuel save. Slipstream so powerful along the oval section. A lift and coast doesn't actually give you any net loss, really. You can do it and stay right on the pace. Lap times being set out on track at the moment are pretty fast, 29s, and most of the drivers actually in the 30s. So 29s are best laps in this session, 30s being the sort of current pace that these guys are running at as we start to approach half distance. I would, it particularly surprised me that much.
No, it doesn't. A bit of a, lest my eyes deceive me there, a little bit of a Scandi flick from Flavio and Darlow coming down into turn 3. As now we see Dudu Castro still staying in touch with Marco Pinheiro. Those two have been inseparable since race start. Tabino's really dropped off the back of him. Noah alluded to it early on, but now the gap is 3.3 seconds, so he is well out of the equation. In fact, Jason Green now only lies 1 second behind the Brazilian. He's hunting him down. He can see that place on the podium in front of him. Looking to make it 3 different nationalities standing on the podium today. At least the virtual one. There's Dantas just trying to squeeze through another place, I do believe. Yes, it is. So that's him into 6th now. Still 1 place down from where he started. Even though Darlow did not have the best of starts, but whereas they had to think about Yorgmani before, it's now Joshua Soto who they have to think about. In fact, Bobby West hasn't quite been able to keep up with them, and certainly Yorgmani has not. You see him right in the distance there, and clearly all those times he smacked the wall on the exit, well, where they're about to head now, on 17, is clearly impeding his car.
Yorgmani is struggling for a little bit of pace at the moment. He'll be encouraged that Fritzsche is quite a ways behind here, Tim, 2.8 seconds. But, well, for the Swiss driver, I wouldn't say it's falling apart for him at the moment, but in terms of his progress for the lead of that Masters race, he's got a long road ahead of him, hasn't he?
Yes, it's going to be definitely an uphill climb for him, although being from Switzerland, you think he should be used to that. Plenty of mountains around there, really mountainous region. Oh, it's slightly mixed up. Brewster's just headed in front of Leone for 14th. Looking back from Dantas, though, right now, that's Sandalo behind us. You can see Soto just emerging from behind Dantas' car, just casting the shadow right now. Dantas closing. Won't be wise to make a move into the bus stop. We've seen earlier on just how much time you can lose from doing that, as Dantas a little bit more of a ferry of the throttle compared to Andalo, who's going to close in. But will he make the pass? If he doesn't, Tom, I think that's going to say to me, he's fuel saving. Well, no, there you go. He's pushing. He's pushing his fellow countrymen as they're trying to remain in front of Soto, who dives into the pits.
Premature, perhaps, as everyone running into...
Tom, I don't know, we're at half race distance. I don't know where that time's gone, but we are at half race, so it's feasible. And I mean, Soto's absolutely flying. Leader in Spec 2, so clearly feeling he's got better pace than those Brazilians in front of him. As we now ride on board with Alan McCain, he's well down the order involved in earlier incidents. Down 16, that's Scarlett just in front of him. He was down 18. Gianni Longin, well, loses 2 places there as Scarlett sails past and McCain says, oh, look, there's a great big gap there. Thank you very much. I'm going to slide into that too. But, yeah, I do wonder if Josh Soto feels like he's got better pace than Dantas and Andalo, and that's why he's bailed, I say early, at half race distance.
Yeah, but the problem is, we're forgetting here that as you're running in the slipstream, you're also running at a faster pace than the guys behind you who aren't in slipstream, even if you're having to lift and coast and things. It's not actually too much of a disadvantage to be running in traffic here, unless that traffic is slower than you or battling, but particularly the likes of people that he was alongside, I don't think there was that much of a concern. What has sprung up on me though, Tim, is the fact that all of a sudden we only have 4 times per second at the lead of the race. Evandro Dantas is still under pressure from Mandalo, that much we are expecting at this stage, but Castro starting to put pressure on Marco Pinheiro. It seems to be a pretty big mainstay here that Pinero is at the lead of the race in Spec Racer Fords, but he might find himself under a little bit of pressure towards the end here.
He may well do indeed. He may well do indeed. And, well, if Castro can pull this one off, he will only become our 4th different winner from 8 rounds so far this season. There's someone just catching the wall there. I think that must have been the 53 there who did so. But, oh, Green's ahead of Tabino. There we go. Well, there you go. It was Tabino catching it. I didn't spot that one as I was looking at the timing sheet trying to work something out, and Jason Green easily getting past Tabino. But yeah, Marco Pinero, Tom, has won 5 of the previous. Oh no, Tabino. Well, that's him gone. Green caught up in it. If Race could capitalise here, I think that was a back marker just catching them all out. It was Brad Cathcart.
So Brad was on the outside line. They went through the chicane and then, oh dear, that is not for the viewing of a PG broadcast, I'm afraid. But Brad Cathcart is, I think, a bit unlucky there. Certainly a racing incident, whatever it was, as the car ahead of Brad had an incident and Brad didn't have enough time to react, but ends up rear-ending someone, and never a nice thing to see on a racetrack. Marco Pinero was there through. You saw him under pressure in that little replay.
Well, I did spot from it, just at the corner of my eye, the bottom of the screen, Tom. Castro clipped the wall on the exit, and it's cost him a couple of attempts. That could be decisive in terms of the outcome of this race. And turning race up into 3rd, that's because Green has visited the pit, so has Tabino. I mean, that instant, at least the saving grace that they had was it's right near the pit lane entry. So it's the one saving grace they've got, but even so, as you say, it was not made for PG viewing whatsoever. Definitely bringing the frustrations to them, but I mean, Cathcart, although initially looking like he was to blame, I mean, he wasn't. It was a car in front of him. I didn't quite catch who it was, but rear-ended them, and, well, that brought him to a grinding halt. And when everyone's coming through at full chat, not expecting it, what's going to happen, isn't it? Innocent bystanders brought into the conundrum. It's throwing this, in terms of the best of the rest, it's throwing it wide open now.
Kjorkmani will see an open door and perhaps a chance to start to chase after the lead of the Masters race. He's got a few cars to pass before he does that. And it's going to be Bobby West, who is his first target. Bobby West, well, he's got his sights on Evandro Dantas and Ndalo for that Spec 1 podium. But, well, with 15 minutes to go in the race, all to play for. Nunez has just jumped up a position. We're looking at Luca Leone. He's attacking Jim Brewster. And, it's going to be a bit difficult for him in the road course section of the track. All a little bit processional in the Spec Racer Ford, as most of our 40-minute races are. I do like the 40-minute format that a lot of leagues have been running in recent years. However, it's also one that lends itself very nicely to these sort of processional stints where you just have someone buying their time and being patient, and, well, patience so often pays off as well.
It does. I've just been looking at the timing sheets, Tom, and there you go. He's on screen now in 11th, Jason Green. That is your benchmark for how everyone is achieving. He's pitted, obviously, after we saw him have that incident at the bus stop chicane. And it's just behind him. Leone and Brewster go side by side. And it's Leone still remaining ahead of Brewster for now. Brewster on the podium in Spec 2. Donny Antonio Race and Kjorkmani, that is ahead of the American. And there's Jason Green just carrying on past Les Plaver there. I do believe it is. Yes, it is. That's Les Plaver well down the order, was caught up in those earlier on incidents. Actually, in fact, he's not too long had an accident according to our log, but meanwhile back up front, I said about that gap expanding, Tom. Well, it's contracted again. It's down to 3 attempts. We're right on board with Dudu Castro. Pinero just coming up on a bit of traffic, and that could just hamper him. Not necessarily on pace because of where it was, but it's just something to just distract your eye. This is the Brazilian's time to shine. He needs to capitalise right here, right now, if he wants to stand, I think, a chance of winning round 8 from Charlotte.
Difficult to tell whether the gloves are off up there at the top of the order, but we'll wait and see. Only time will tell. Around that 30-minute mark is when we expect them to pit, isn't it?
Oh, I can tell you from the onboard shot, looking down, I can tell you that Dudix Castro's gloves are firmly on. Certainly in iRacing anyway. Look at this. Panero's going to get caught up here a little bit, isn't he? Just tripping up over the back markers. That's the 309 machine. It's clearing past. That's Jeff Wubka. So they've lapped up everyone up into and including 32nd. Next up on the track is Trenton Kramer. How far in front is he? Well, he's not. He's, well, enough ahead not to worry for Panero for now quite. There you go. You can just see him in shot. Bobby West is headed into the pits. As there is Kramer. So he's about, what, about a corner ahead at the moment. But the pace these top two are carrying, I don't think it's going to be too long before they catch him. 1:31.5 last lap for Kramer. He's sounding a bit loose there. 1:30.5 for Castro and Panero last time around, so they're running about a second quicker.
Looking at Trenton Kramer, well, looking back at our battling leaders, Castro and Panero on board with Trenton Kramer. Still, there is no attack from Dudo Castro. Again, I'm not too sure there's going to be, which is slightly frustrating. We want to see entertaining racing. A few more cars jumping into pit lane. I can see that Marco Panero enters the pits. There you go. That's an interesting moment in the race. That will open the can of worms. And Dudu Castro, well, he leads.
Early, 28 minutes. I would expect maybe another lap from Panero, but Tom, Castro's been sat behind him the whole way, and maybe that was the tactic. Yulmani also into the pits because Castro will have been fuel saving for his life over the course of the last 19 laps even that they have completed here at Charlotte. There's a bit of a broken car sharing pit boxes there with Marco Panero. Now, where's he going to come out in relation to Jason Green? Of course, he was the top driver that had pitted so far. So there's Green just about to enter into turn 1. So, not unexpected that Panero's ahead. But by how far in terms of time? Well, I can tell you, it sounds out 7 seconds. I think that Green's made up time on these two.
Yes, perhaps he has. I'm now keeping an eye on when Dudu Castro chooses to come into the pits. Personally, I'm doing it straight away, making sure that I'm not running in that clean air for too long. I want to make sure that I get ahead as quickly as possible and make use of my advantage. And I think he's going to heed my advice, or I don't suppose he's probably listened to my advice, but anyway, he'll come into the pits regardless. And now it's crunch time, because where is Marco Panero?
Well, there he is, Tom. There he is, heading on to turn 4 of the oval section. Antonio race into the pits too. Andalo and Dantas carry on. Gardini's going to come in from 5th as well. So, still in the pit lane, not on exit is Castro. Oh, he's still stationary, Tom. He's still stationary, and I think Marco Panero is going to do this one. He's just on the outside there, but he's held up by a back marker. The 888 machine just in his way, and that might lend as they come out. And well, he's got it done, Tom. He's got it done. And in fact, in the end, he was stationary for about 3/4 of a second less than Panero. Just shows you what sort of outlap that Panero had. Absolutely astounding, but he's done it. He's out, he's in front, and now he just needs to hold on to become only our 4th different winner for 8 rounds this season.
And isn't that fantastic? But he's still got a lot of time to make up, because he's still got 9 minutes to try and defend from Pinheiro. Pinheiro is not going to give this up too easily. No more fuel saving. It's now gloves off. And here comes the first attack from Pinheiro around the outside line. Looks a bit of a switchback through the chicane. And in the end, it's going to be Dantas who holds on to the spot. But Pinheiro is fast as they head through turn 13 and turn 14. He goes to the outside line. Squeezed ever so slightly by the 73. They're going to make a little bit of contact. They make more contact and they wreck. And they wreck. And it's going to be Castro who gets the worst of it. Heartbreak for what would be our first time race winner in the season. He goes to the pit lane. Pinheiro will get back to the lead once Andalo comes into the pits. For my liking, perhaps as we see the replay, Pinheiro was squeezed slightly there. But maybe
once, twice. I mean, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
6 and 1 after than the other, maybe, Tom? I mean, Pinheiro's so lucky he got away with that one. As you say, Castro just, well, flung down into the pits, and to add insult onto injury, I do wonder the way he came into the pits, whether he's going to invoke a speeding in the pit lane, you know, penalty for that as well. Gutting for him. Well, there we go. He's pulled up into this box, so I would say, yeah, he's been stationary for 40-odd seconds, so that is not good for him, and that's race ending. Such a shame. But Andalo still leads. He's the only driver yet to stop, other than Bradford Gould, oddly. He's at 23rd place right now. Now, Pinheiro, from those contacts, will be carrying a bit of damage. Jason Green is 5 seconds behind. He's got 5 minutes in which to make that up. Can he do it? That's the big question. We'll know when they come across the line. Andalo into the pits. I imagine Gould will be in this lap too. There's Antonio Racing, your leader in Masters. Joshua Soto, he's had just quietly been chipping away and has an astounding race so far. He's lying 4th overall. In fact, by the time Andalo pits, Soto, the Spec 2 driver, will be on the podium overall. Astounding stuff for him. That's providing he can just fend off the advances Antonio Race. Well, he's a wily old fox. He knows how to do it. He knows how to get the job done. He's only 3 tenths behind the young American. So there's Andalo going again. He's going to come out around Yormani, who's about to recover. He's into 8th place right now. So he's back tied with him again, isn't it? Look, Tabino, Dantas, Bobby West, all involved in that too.
Is there a possibility of post-race penalties? Is that something that exists?
No, unfortunately, no. Well, I say unfortunately not. I think poor Stevie Ray, who runs this league, would be here all night and well into tomorrow. Who's had to try and work out through this one, but yeah, you do have to. I mean, it was fierce. I mean, Castro squeezed Pinheiro a lot there. You can understand it why, but even so, not sure about that second contact. Really, really not sure. It's highest position climber, Jesus Rodriguez. I said he qualified well out of position. He's up 19 spots into 21st. Yeah, invoking the inner Andres Bertoni within him. So we haven't seen, sadly, Andres in quite a while now, actually, since we haven't seen him. But he's up 19 spots and he has pitted. So Aaron Vogler is the next driver on the track for him. He's 2.8 seconds of the road. Within 5 minutes left. Well, clearly Pinheiro doesn't have too much damage because 6.5 seconds now. It was 5 and a bit seconds to Jason Green. So clearly that bit of contact with, well, I say bit of contact with Castro has not affected his car whatsoever.
Or his chances at winning. In fact, they've increased them rather dramatically. Chris Montgomery is under pressure from Nunez. Nunez is going to go to that inside line and might just get a spot here down into turn 17. That's exactly what he does. So Chris Montgomery is going to have to settle for 18 for the time being. There's a car off in the background. I believe that was Aaron Vogler who puts across that chicane. Just the 4 minutes to go in this race, so a minute and a half lap time. That is probably 3 laps to go, depending on where Marco Pinheiro is on the racetrack. Possibly 2 when he crosses the line, actually, come to think of it. But well, a little bit overcast conditions too, isn't it? Overhead, obviously no rain to speak of in iRacing here. Here's Evandro Dantas down the inside of West, and will find his way up another spot. So 3.5 minutes to go. Pinheiro 6.7 seconds to the good. I don't suppose that there will be another twist in this tail. Wouldn't be the craziest thing to have happened in the SRF Weekend Warriors, as we see Soto gunning for the lead, Joshua Soto, or gunning for third, I should say, and an overall podium spot. But I don't suppose there'll be one more twist in the tail. It'll be unlike Marco Pinheiro to have an incident, but maybe I suppose he does have a little bit of damage. Maybe that makes that car a little bit more difficult to drive.
That is a really valid point there, Tom. That is really, really valid point. And, well, we've even, to be fair, we've seen many a driver so far clip the wall on the exit of 17. Just you never. It's a weird circuit. It's although it's very modern in its look and certainly its track width. It's old school. There's walls wherever you look, really close to the edge of the track, almost street circuit-esque, almost Nordschleifer-esque in that sort of sense. You're never a moment away from one small mistake costing you absolutely big time. As just running ball with Josh Soto, your leader in Spec 2, still on the back of a 10-year race. And just looking at this time, by my calculations, I think they've got the lap they're about to start, and then they'll take the white flag.
Well, it's all very dependent, isn't it? They should do. I think your calculations are probably correct. So we'll be heading on to our penultimate lap in a few moments' time. So Joshua Soto, 2 more opportunities to get Rice and that overall podium. He's going to look to do it, I suspect, out of 17 here. And, well, it's exactly what he tries. To the outside line he goes. So early on the brakes into that corner of turn 1 that there's no doing for him just yet. 1 minute and a half to go in the race. Evandro Dantas is getting through. He may get to a case where Marco Pinheiro decides to back out of the throttle. He's got 8 seconds to the good. So if he's on the bubble, then he may choose to back out. Obviously, we had all sorts of drama last week with the checker flag flying. It's what it didn't immediately appear to be the right time. Turns out the way iRacing deals with all of that, it was roughly the right time, but I wonder what we're going to see checker flag wise today.
Oh, clip the wall there, Josh Soto, and well, thanks to the beauty of netcode. Netcode taketh, netcode giveth on this time. As Soto's bonnet reappears, he's up in a astounding 14 places. He's got time in the bank because Chris Montgomery and Alan McCain, who are 2nd and 3rd in class, are locked in a massive battle for that lap. Well, the last 2 places on the podium. Pinheiro just in a bit of traffic there. That's what Josh Justice in front of him. Ooh, squeezes it in a little bit there, gets away with it. White flag in the air, 1 lap left to go for Pinheiro to bring this one home. But with battling with back markers, not necessarily the best thing to do. There is green. So Soto sadly has lost a fair chunk of time. Meanwhile, behind them, Dantas, West, Grage to the bow, Tabino, don't discredit him. York Marnie at the tail of them too. A 4-way fight for what's going to be 3rd in Spec 1. Actually, 3-way fight because York Marnie being 2nd in Masters right now, but he'd love to try and pick off some of these guys as we look down from the Apex Racing TV helicopter. It is Dantas from West for Tabino from Marnie, and Marnie closing in on Tabino. Tabino doesn't want that. He wants to get up onto the back of West and Dantas and try to snaffle away that Spec 1 podium from them. Tom, I think this is going to be a big lunch for one of these drivers coming out of the bus stop. That run down to 15, 16, 17, that chicane at the end of the lap. And who's going to take it up? But I can just see West is looking very, very racy and might go for it even earlier. That might go for a run down into the bus stop.
Around the outside he goes. This is for 5th position overall. Bobby West gets a fantastic run. Might be 3 wide here when all is said and done. Because Tabino pulls to the outside line. Evandro Dantas on the inside holds on to 6th. Loses out on 5th but gets to 6th. Here is the leader. Marco Pinheiro in controversial style is going to win at Charlotte Motor Speedway. It will be Green who recovers as a 2nd behind Tim Antonio Rice, a Masters driver, finishing off the podium. These guys are side by side, and surely going to drag race to the line. One last application of brakes, and it's Dantas who gets the better of it. He flies off into 5th position. Marnie can't get up a spot on the line. So that is how the top 8 run. What a finish to this race.
Lot more. We're not done and dusted, though. Favini versus Leone. Leone, or maybe a bit too far back. Has a little look. Backs out of it. He's compromised. That's going to give Favini 11th place. Still to come, though. Montgomery, he's behind Nunes. There's McCain. The second and third in Spec 2, side by side. Here comes Jesus Rodriguez. Can't do anything on that run to the line. He had a go, but he was too far back. Couldn't get anything done. Gardini's just past Vogele. There you go. Someone who has managed to get it done. Meanwhile, further back, this is Ken Bailey. Maybe, oh wow, bit of a compromised exit there, but thanks to that short run to the line, we'll get away with it. Overstreet well down that early on damage, hurting her. I mean, she finishes all the way down in 25th. Jeff Woodkirk, last car lost the line, and last car on the lead lap in 26th. I'm brief, Tom. I'm brief.
Entertaining end to that race. And, well, we can get your results for you. Marco De Pinero wins from Jason Green. Antonio Rice is on the top step in at the Masters. Joshua Soto, behind him. Then it's Evandro Dantas and Bobby West. Marnie second place in the Masters. Flavio Randalo, Jeff Fritzsche and Andrea Favini, your top 10.
In 11th was Luca Leone. Les Plaver finishes in 12th. And then we've got Fabio Scarli, 13th. Jim Brewster on the podium in Masters finishes 14th ahead of Kurt Nunes. Chris Montgomery and Alan McCain, inseparable in the end. Second and third in Spec 2. Jesus Rodriguez, what a recovery from him. So right near the back, made it 21 places to finish 19th, your highest position climber of the race, with Tabino in the end. Oh, that must have been a post-race penalty because he came across the line with Dantas and co. Claudio Gardini finishes 20th, Tom.
Aaron Vogele behind him with Tom Gradwell, Ken Bately, Ian Gibson, Megan Overstreet 25th. There's Jeff Wilker, Joshua Justice and Bradford Gould. After them, it is going to be Phil Berry and Paul Jackson, the top 30.
31st was Stephen Mitchell, Gianni Longan, 32nd, then Martin van der Berg, 2 laps down. 3 laps down was Caleb Pocock. They were into the retirements. Duda Castro sadly lost from that battle for the lead with Marco Pinero. He's classified 35th. Trenton Kramer, we lost him on lap 19, and Bradshaw lap 17. Cathcart lap 14, so was Michelle Vaglini. Dan Woods ran out of the top 30, last him on lap 13. And then Gory lap 7, Picaro lap 6, Liliando Pinero lap 4, Jess Jacobson lap 3, and Kerry Edwards did not make the start. I've a bit of a chat to some of our drivers, I think. Maybe Tom, first up, I'll tell you what, I'm going to bring him. We don't tend to bring him in first. He tends to get, you know, the afters. But another podium this evening for Jim Brewster. Managed it in the Formula 4s. You've done it in the SRFs. What's going on, Jeff? I mean, you're so high up the standings, you must have a nosebleed right now.
And don't forget the Vs. I got second overall in the Vs.
Oh,
we had a great battle. Saturday was one of our best V races ever. We had 6 cars up front. Last 5 laps were insane at Summit Point, and it was a great race. This race was totally clean. You know, when you like to have a race where nothing happens and you just race, 28 laps as fast as you can go. Well, I had one of those.
That's what we like to hear. So, I mean, in the midfield, I mean, it looked like a bit crazy. Quite a few people scuffing the walls on the exit of the final turn when you came onto the start-finish line. Just talk us through that. I mean, surely you had to have your wits about you, and also a couple of incidents we saw, certainly on camera, into the bus stop chicane.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty conservative on entry, and I definitely drive some people crazy because I brake a little earlier and less because I try to carry through, and I carry through a lot more speed in those corners. And, it's just there's differences in style, and I work hard on the exits because that's where the risk is. I try to keep the risk down. I think I might have gotten 0x today, so, that's a pretty good day at this track.
That's definitely a good day at the office all round. Congratulations. Jim Brewster, who finished.
Hey, let me say hi quick to my sister Tam, and to Stevie, and to all the Weekend Warriors. These is a great bunch of guys. You guys do a great job, and we're hopefully going to get together, a bunch of us Weekend Warriors, at the SCCA runoffs this fall. Stevie's going to come out east, and hopefully we'll get 10 or 15 or maybe even more of us all together to meet each other at the SCCA runoffs. Anyway, thanks for what you do. See you next week.
Oh, that's the beauty of sim racing, just being showcased there. People who probably never even met in real life coming together. Jim Brewster finished third in class here from Charlotte. Tom, have you managed to grab anyone for a chat?
We have, not Jim Brewster, he's just been on. Antonio Rice is joining us in the box. Antonio, that is an overall podium for you, but more importantly, the Masters victory. Very well done, my friend.
Hello, good night. Yeah, it was really a tough race, but I don't know. I survived. Some guys crashed in front, like Dudu and I don't know, some Pinero, I suppose. Pinero won, right? I don't know the results.
Yes, Marco Pinero won. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, so Jason finished second. Yeah, I just finished third. It was a surprise that Jason crashed and then he still could finish 7 seconds ahead of me. It was a great pace for Jason.
And well, in terms of the race as a whole, obviously there's a lot of stuff happening ahead of you. Is it a case of break away from that pack and then just sort of relax?
No, I was not relaxed. I was doing a lot of mistakes. I was trying to catch them, but I couldn't. So I was a little stressed. But well, it is what it is. I don't have enough pace to keep up with Jason, so I have to let them go.
And finally, is there anyone you want to shout out or mention while we have you on the broadcast?
Oh yeah, sure. For Steve Ray, he's the organizer, and then the father of this series, and for you guys broadcasting, for the sponsors, and for all the drivers and the viewers.
Thank you, Antonio, for joining us, and hopefully
yeah, thank you too. Have a good day. Yeah.
Well, that is all we've got time for here from Charlotte to round out Super Sundays, the double header of Weekend Warriors. What has been kickstarting with the Formula Fords at Summit Point, concluding with the SRFs from Charlotte. I've been Tim Cox with Tom Dillon and Lewis Araya. Thanks very much for joining us, and we will see you in 1 week's time when we head to Hockenheim in Germany for the SRFs and Interlagos for the Formula Fords. Thanks very much for joining us. See you then.